You're standing in Westminster Palace Yard, October 1618. The air bites cold. Fog rolls through like a ghost. Then you see it, the scaffold. Fresh timber. And beside it, the axe. The blade catches the light, and for a second, you see your reflection in the steel. The handle is wrapped in leather darkened by years of blood that never fully washed away. This is England. This is what happens to traitors. But here's what they don't tell you in history books. A traitor's death in 1618 isn't just execution, it's obliteration. First, they hang you. But not until you're dead. Just until you're choking, eyes bulging, legs kicking uselessly at air. Then they cut you down while you're still conscious. Strip you naked. Slice open your belly. Reach inside and pull out your intestines, hand over hand, and burn them in front of you. While you watch. While you smell your own insides burning. Then they castrate you. Hold it up to the crowd. Show it to you. Your heart is still beating. Only then do they take your head. Spike it on London Bridge where the crows will come. Where your eyes will fall out. Where your skull will grin at passers-by for years. That's the sentence. That's what Sir Walter Raleigh, explorer, poet, soldier, once the favorite of a queen, was condemned to endure. But here's the twist that should make your blood run cold. That's not the barbaric part. Before I tell you what really happened, if you're as shocked by this as I am, hit that like button right now. And subscribe, because we're about to uncover historical truths they don't teach in schools. Trust me, you'll want to see where this goes. The barbarism wasn't in the blade. It wasn't in the butchery. It was in the 15 years they made him wait. In a cell with a window overlooking the city. Where he could see freedom every day. Where he could watch his son grow, knowing that boy might wake up to find his father's head rotting on a pike. 15 years. Over 5,000 days. Waking up every morning knowing the sentence still hung over him. But that's still not the worst of it. The worst was the trial that put him there. Where he couldn't face his accuser. Where the only evidence was a confession from a man who'd already retracted it. And then, after 15 years, they gave him one final chance. One impossible task. Find gold in South America. Do it all without angering Spain. Oh, and they told Spain he was coming. They sent him into an ambush. And when Raleigh, sick with fever, had to send someone else inland, he sent his son. His 23-year-old son. That boy died in the mud with a Spanish bullet in his throat. When the expedition returned with nothing but corpses, they dusted off the 15-year-old death sentence. Not because he committed treason. Because Spain demanded it, and the king was too weak to refuse. In a few minutes, a 66-year-old man is going to walk up those steps. Grey hair. Bent back. Eyes that have seen his son's corpse, his wife's tears, his fortune stripped away. But he's going to walk with his head high. Examine the axe blade and make a joke that will be repeated for 400 years. Then he'll kneel. The executioner will hesitate. Because even the man whose job it is to kill will realize something is deeply wrong. But Raleigh will urge him on. Strike, man. Strike. And here's the detail they always leave out. The first swing won't be clean. The blade will hit bone and stick. The executioner will have to hit him again. When the head finally separates, when the executioner holds it up and shouts, "Behold the head of a traitor," the crowd will stay silent. Because everyone there will know they didn't just watch a traitor die. They watched England murder one of its greatest men. And if this story is making you rethink everything you thought you knew about history, share this video. More people need to know the truth about what really happened. But we're not there yet. Before we watch that blade fall, we need to understand how it began. The fog is getting thicker. The guards are coming. And that old man in fine clothes is about to teach us something about courage, injustice, and the brutal truth they've been hiding for 400 years. To understand how Walter Raleigh ended up on that scaffold, we need to go back 40 years. Ireland. Raleigh is 26. He's nobody. The second son of a minor gentry family. No title. No fortune. No prospects except what he can carve out with a sword. At Smerwick, 600 Italian and Spanish soldiers surrender. They are promised quarter, their lives in exchange for submission. Raleigh doesn't give them quarter. He kills them all. 600 men, disarmed, defenseless, begging for mercy. Cut down like animals. Left to rot as a warning. This is the man who will write poetry about love and loss. This is the man who will charm a queen. But first, he has to prove he can be a butcher. And it works. Word reaches London. There's a young officer in Ireland worth watching. Raleigh is summoned to court. And then he sees her. Elizabeth Tudor. 58 years old. Virgin Queen. Most powerful woman in Europe. You've heard the story. The cloak over the puddle. Charming the Queen. Probably fiction. Here's what actually happened. Raleigh could talk. He could perform. He made whoever he spoke to feel fascinating. And Elizabeth, brilliant and lonely, met someone who made her laugh. She was hooked. Within 2 years, Raleigh goes from nobody to the most powerful man in England outside the royal family. 1583, Captain of the Queen's Guard. 1585, knighted. Sir Walter Raleigh. At 33. She gives him Durham House, a palace worth $200 million today. Monopolies. Wine importing. Wool exports. His collecting over £3 million a year in modern currency. By 1587, Walter Raleigh is one of the richest men in the kingdom. And everyone hates him. Because Raleigh flaunts it. Clothes that cost more than most nobles make in a year. Doublets stitched with pearls. Shoes with diamond buckles. He builds a retinue of scholars. Thomas Harriot. Christopher Marlowe. They call themselves the School of Night. A private society dedicated to ideas the church considers dangerous. The rumors start. Raleigh is an atheist. Raleigh practices black magic. An investigation is launched in 1594. It disappears. Because Elizabeth protects him. He names the first English territory Virginia. After the Virgin Queen. He brings tobacco. Brings potatoes. But he doesn't do it for England. He does it for credit. For recognition. This is who Walter Raleigh is. Brilliant. Ambitious. Arrogant. Vicious when necessary. Charming when useful. And absolutely convinced of his own invincibility. Because he has Elizabeth. And as long as Elizabeth is alive, no one can touch him. But there are men watching. Robert Cecil. Hunched, bitter. He watches Raleigh and promises himself, one day. The Howard family. Old nobility. They smile at Raleigh. They dine with him. And they wait. Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex. Elizabeth's other favorite. He and Raleigh circle each other like wolves. But they all agree, when Elizabeth dies, Raleigh dies with her. Her name is Elizabeth Throckmorton. Bess. One of the Queen's ladies-in-waiting. And Raleigh can't keep his hands off her. They marry in secret. November 1591. No permission from the Queen. For 5 months, they keep it quiet. May 1592. Bess is pregnant. Visibly pregnant. Someone tells Elizabeth. And Elizabeth loses her mind. She rages through the palace breaking things. Screaming. Weeping. Because it's not just about the marriage. It's about the lie. The betrayal. August 7, 1592. Raleigh and Bess are arrested. Both sent to the Tower. Bess gives birth there. A son. Dame Ray. The baby dies within weeks. But Raleigh survives. He writes letters of apology so eloquent they make Elizabeth weep. December 1597. He's released. He's learned nothing. Within months he's back at court. His enemies watch. They know Raleigh will take risks. They just need to wait. Essex tries to move too soon. 1601, he attempts a coup. It fails. Essex is beheaded. Raleigh testifies against him. And he thinks he's won. March 24, 1603. Elizabeth dies. The crown passes to James VI of Scotland. A man Raleigh has never met. A man who is terrified of assassination, paranoid about plots. A weak man. Look, if you're realizing history is darker than they taught you, hit that subscribe button right now. It's free, takes 1 second. Or don't. And then explain in the comments why accurate history isn't worth a single click. Let me tell you about James's childhood. His father is murdered when James is 8 months old. blown up in his bed. James's mother, Mary Queen of Scots, marries the chief suspect 3 months later. Within a year, she's forced to abdicate. James becomes King of Scotland at 13 months old. At 6, nobles storm in and beat his guardians bloody. At 11, he's kidnapped. At 23, he survives an assassination attempt. His mother is beheaded by Elizabeth. He does nothing, just accepts it. Survival means never making yourself a target. James is 47 when he becomes King of England. And here comes Walter Raleigh. Tall, handsome, confident, wearing clothes worth more than James's entire coronation. Everything about Raleigh screams danger. A man who takes risks, who commands loyalty, who's killed hundreds of people. James is terrified of violence. He faints at drawn swords. The meeting lasts 10 minutes. James dismisses Raleigh with a wave. Raleigh walks out confused. Cecil walks in smiling. The dismantling begins. May 20, 1603. Raleigh is stripped of his position. June 7th. The wine monopoly is revoked. June 24th. Wool exports cancelled. July 9th. Durham House seized. By July's end, Raleigh has lost £3 million in modern currency. This is punishment. But for what? Raleigh hasn't done anything. It doesn't matter. Cecil has already written the crime. Now he needs the confession. A Catholic priest named Father Watson is arrested for plotting to kidnap James. But Watson starts making claims. He says there's another plot. Protestant nobles working with Spain. He names names. Lord Cobham, Lord Grey, and Walter Raleigh. Cobham is weak, a heavy drinker, exactly the kind of man you can break. And his best friend is Walter Raleigh. Cecil arrests Cobham on July 11th. Takes him to the Tower. 3 days later, no physical torture, James forbids it. But psychological torture? Fair game. They tell Cobham that Raleigh has already confessed. That Raleigh blamed him. They tell him Spain is coming. That his wife will be arrested. His children. His estates confiscated. Then they offer him a pen. July 15, 1603. Cobham writes a confession. According to Cobham, Raleigh masterminded everything. Raleigh wanted Arabella Stuart on the throne. Spain had promised 600,000 crowns. It's detailed. Specific. It's also completely insane. Spain in 1603 is broke. The idea they'd give money to an English nobleman they've been fighting for 20 years is absurd. But it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be signed. July 17th. Guards arrest Raleigh on charges of high treason. They show him Cobham's confession. This is a lie, Raleigh says. 2 days later, they bring another letter. From Cobham. I have wronged you. I was terrified. You are innocent. Raleigh asks to see Cobham face to face. Denied. He asks for the basic rights guaranteed under English law. Every request denied. Because there isn't going to be a trial. Not a real one. Winchester Castle. November 17, 1603. The judges are handpicked. Lord Chief Justice Popham, he owes his position to Cecil. Cecil himself sits on the bench. Thomas Howard, the Howards hate Raleigh. Sir William Wadd, Raleigh's jailer. This isn't a jury of peers. This is an execution panel. Raleigh walks in. 51 years old. Thin. Tired. But his back is straight. He's not allowed a lawyer. Then Edward Coke walks in. Attorney General. He hates Raleigh. Why? Years ago, Raleigh flirted with Coke's fiancée at court. This is personal. The trial begins. Thou art a monster. Coke screams. Thou viper. Thou spider of hell. This isn't a trial. This is a public mauling. Coke presents his evidence. Cobham's confession. That confession was extracted under duress, Raleigh says. He has since retracted it. You have proof? I have a letter in Cobham's hand. A letter from a traitor holds no weight. Then bring Cobham here. Let him speak. Silence. The law requires confrontation of witnesses. I demand to face Lord Cobham. Cobham's confession is sufficient. Raleigh shifts tactics. Where are the letters showing I contacted Spain? Destroyed. Where is the Spanish gold? Hidden. Has anyone found evidence of this? We know it exists because Cobham confessed. The jury is listening. This doesn't add up. Coke calls a witness. A Portuguese pilot who supposedly overheard Spanish lords discussing the man Raleigh. Raleigh. Not even the right name. The pilot can't identify who spoke. Can't say when. Can't describe them. This man heard a conversation in a language he barely speaks, between men he cannot identify, at a time he cannot specify, Raleigh says. This is your evidence. Cobham's retracted confession. And tavern gossip. No letters. No money. No physical evidence. Raleigh has destroyed every claim. His cited legal precedent. Remained calm. Devastatingly logical. The gallery is murmuring. This doesn't look like a guilty man. Then a messenger enters. Carrying a letter. Cobham has written a new statement. Withdrawing his retraction. Confirming everything from his original confession. Dated yesterday. They went back to his cell. Threatened him again. Broke him completely. This is coerced, Raleigh says. Are you confessing to knowledge of Cobham's mental state? They've turned his compassion into evidence of guilt. The jury is led out. 15 minutes later, they return. Guilty of high treason. 15 minutes to decide whether to kill a man. Popham reads the sentence. Every gruesome detail. Hanging. Disemboweling. Castration. Beheading. Quartering. Raleigh doesn't flinch. My lords, I thank you for this trial, though I hoped for a fairer one. I am innocent. But if it is the king's will that I die, then I die. His voice never wavers. Sir John Harrington will write, I never saw a man suffer with such dignity. By God's truth, I wept for him. The guards take him. Back to the Tower. Where he'll wait. Because the execution date hasn't been set. Could be tomorrow. Could be years. They've done something worse than killing him. They've put him back in limbo. We're halfway through Raleigh's nightmare. That means this matters to you. So make it count. Subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who thinks history is boring. Tell us which in the comments. December 1603. Grey, Markham, and Cobham are led to the scaffold. They kneel. The blade is raised. Then, a messenger. A royal pardon. All three spared at the last second. Theatre. James showing his power over life and death. But Raleigh? Raleigh doesn't get the pardon. He gets to keep living. With the death sentence hanging over him. Indefinitely. They move him to the Bloody Tower. 3 rooms. A fireplace. Windows overlooking Tower Green where Anne Boleyn lost her head. And here's the twist. They let him live almost normally. His wife Bess moves in. Their son Wat comes and goes. His allowed servants. Books. Laboratory equipment. He builds a shed. Turns it into a laboratory. Starts making medicine. A cordial called Balsam of Guiana. Develops a reputation as a healer. Prince Henry, James's eldest son, 15 years old, hears about the brilliant man in the tower. He visits. They talk for hours. Henry becomes Raleigh's advocate. Only my father would keep such a bird in a cage. And Raleigh has hope. When Henry takes the throne, Raleigh will be freed. November 6, 1612. Prince Henry dies of typhoid. 18 years old. Raleigh's last hope dies with him. But he keeps working. He starts writing a history of the world. 1,500 pages. 7 years. It's filled with attacks on tyranny. Warnings about weak kings and corrupt advisors. Published in 1614, James is furious. Too saucy in censuring princes. He tries to suppress it. It becomes a bestseller. In 1605, Bess gives birth to another son, Carew, in the Tower. The family fortune evaporates. Sherborne estate is seized. 15 years. 5,000 days. Waking up every morning under a death sentence. Until 1616, when James offers one final chance. El Dorado. The city of gold. somewhere along the Orinoco River. Raleigh went looking for it in 1595. Came back with stories, gold samples. He's believed in it for 20 years. Now, desperate and aging, he makes James an offer. Let me find the gold mine. I'll bring back 20,000 pounds of gold. Enough to save England's treasury. James is broke. He's interested. But Spain claims all of South America. James is negotiating a marriage alliance with Spain. He can't afford a war. So he sets conditions: find the gold. Don't attack Spanish subjects. Don't enter Spanish territory. 3 impossible conditions. But here's the monstrous part. James tells the Spanish ambassador exactly where Raleigh is going. Count Gondomar sends word home. Spanish colonial authorities are warned. James is sending Raleigh into an ambush. If Raleigh succeeds, James gets gold. If Raleigh fails or fights the Spanish, James can execute him to appease Spain. James wins either way. But Raleigh takes the deal. Because 15 years in the Tower has taught him slow death is worse than quick death. He sells everything. Assembles 14 ships and 1,000 men. Bess mortgages their last properties. June 1617. Raleigh, 65 years old, sails from Plymouth. His last voyage. His last gamble. This story has more twists than fiction. And it's all documented. If Crimson Historians is delivering content this intense, show us. Subscribe, like, share, or tell us in the comments why you won't. Everything goes wrong immediately. Storm off Lanzarote. Ships scattered. Disease tears through the fleet. Scurvy. Dysentery. Fever. Captains die. Dozens more. And Raleigh catches fever. He's paralyzed, can't walk. They prepare last rites. He survives. Barely. November 1617. 4 months later, they reach Trinidad. A voyage that should take 2. 3 ships lost. Hundreds dead. Raleigh too sick to stand. He can't lead the expedition. So he sends Lawrence Keymis, his trusted lieutenant of 20 years. And he sends someone else. His son, 23-year-old Wat. Raleigh begs him not to go. Wat insists. January 2nd, 1618. 400 men head up the Orinoco. They discover what James and Gondomar already knew. The Spanish built a fort. Santo Tomé. Over 100 soldiers. They've been waiting. Night landing. Shots fired. Within minutes, battle. Wat Raleigh leads the charge. A bullet catches him in the throat. He dies in seconds. The English, enraged, storm the town. The Spanish governor is killed. Santo Tomé is burned. For 3 weeks, they search. No mine. No gold. Nothing. March 1618. Keymis returns to the coast. Your son is dead. There is no gold. We attacked Spanish territory. Raleigh's breakdown is witnessed by multiple men. He screams at Keymis. Blames him. You have killed me and my son. Keymis goes to his cabin. A pistol shot. But he's still alive. Men rush in. He sends them away. Hours later, they find him dead. A long knife driven into his heart with both hands. Raleigh buried his son and his friend in South American mud. And he knows he's going home to die. The fleet disintegrates. Captains urge piracy. Spanish treasure ships nearby. Easy targets. Raleigh refuses. He won't die a pirate. Ships desert anyway. Some are captured. Crews interrogated. Every detail sent to Gondomar. By the time Raleigh limps into Plymouth on June 21, 1618, the Spanish ambassador already has full reports. Raleigh tries to minimize it. Self-defense. The Spanish fired first. No one believes him. James issues a proclamation: Raleigh is a pirate. There's a brief escape attempt. A French agent offers asylum. But Raleigh's own cousin, bribed with £500, betrays him. August 10, 1618. He's arrested. Back to the Tower. You've watched this far. Was it worth it? Then prove it. Subscribe to Crimson Historians. We spent weeks researching. You can spend 1 second clicking. Gondomar demands Raleigh's head. Explicitly. In letters to James. And James needs Spain. The marriage negotiations. The alliance. But there's a legal problem. They can't try Raleigh for Guyana. Evidence might show the Spanish fired first. Might reveal James's complicity. Solution: revive the 1603 death sentence. October 22, 1618. A commission meets. Raleigh isn't allowed to defend himself. The old sentence stands. Execution date: October 29th. 1 week to live. October 28th. Raleigh is transferred to Westminster Gatehouse. He writes final letters. To Bess. To the King. He writes poetry. Even such is time. He smokes a final pipe of tobacco. Multiple witnesses report his calm. Almost cheerful. Like a man finally getting what he wants. An end to the waiting. October 29, 1618. Dawn breaks cold and misty. The scaffold is ready. Thousands gather. Rich and poor. This is history. 8 a.m. Raleigh walks out. Stooped, thin, grey. 66 years old. But his back is straight. Someone writes, he looked like a man going to a wedding. He climbs the scaffold. And he speaks. 45 minutes. Addressing the crowd. Refuting every charge. Explaining Guyana. Defending his loyalty. Forgiving his enemies. His voice is weak but clear. The crowd is silent. Even the Dean of Westminster tries to get him to stop. This is becoming too convincing. Raleigh finishes. He gives away his hat, his gold watch. He pays the guards. He forgives the executioner. He examines the axe. Runs his thumb along the blade. This is sharp medicine, he says. But it is a physician for all diseases. He kneels. Places his head on the block. The executioner hesitates. Even the man whose job is killing can see this is wrong. Strike, man! Raleigh shouts. Strike! The first blow hits his neck and shoulder. Incomplete. Blood flows. The crowd gasps. The second blow severs the head. The executioner holds it up. Behold the head of a traitor. The crowd stays silent. Absolutely silent. Because everyone there knows they didn't watch a traitor die. They watched England murder one of its greatest men. The head is embalmed. Placed in a red leather bag. Delivered to Bess. She keeps it for 29 years. 29 years with her husband's severed head, traveling with her, displayed in her home. Visitors report seeing it. Guests are shown Walter Raleigh's head like a family heirloom. Bess dies. Their son Carew inherits the head. When Carew dies, the head is buried with him at St. Mary's Church, West Horsley. The body? Buried the same day as the execution at St. Margaret's Church, Westminster. Without the head. Unmarked. You just watched the execution of one of history's greatest men. A man killed for politics, not justice. Crimson Historians brought you every verified detail. If this moved you, subscribe right now. Share this story. And if you won't subscribe, tell us in the comments why this wasn't enough. London mourned. Ballads were printed. The government tried to suppress them. James's reputation never recovered. His grand alliance with Spain? Never happened. The marriage negotiations collapsed. He sacrificed Raleigh for nothing. For decades after, Raleigh was a martyr. During the English Civil War, Republicans held him up as proof of Stuart tyranny. The Victorians romanticized him. Made him a hero of empire. Embellished the legends. Modern historians are more balanced. They acknowledge Ireland. The brutality at Smerwick. The darker aspects of colonization. Raleigh was brilliant and flawed. Visionary and violent. A Renaissance man destroyed by politics. But here's what matters. The barbarism wasn't just the execution method. It was the 15 years of psychological torture. The rigged trial. The impossible task designed to fail. Using his son's death as leverage. The foreign power controlling English justice. The silence of that crowd who knew they were watching murder dressed as law. That silence on October 29, 1618, that was the verdict. Not guilty. But dead anyway. Walter Raleigh represents what happens when power becomes unchecked. When courts become theaters. When foreign interests control domestic justice. When the people who should protect you decide you're worth more dead than alive. Strike, man. Those words echo across 400 years. Not as submission. As defiance. They couldn't make him kneel inside. They couldn't break his mind. They couldn't make him confess to crimes he didn't commit. All they could do was kill him. And in killing him, they proved him right about everything. This is Crimson Historians. This is what we do. Every week, stories like this. True stories. Bloody stories. Important stories. If you made it to the end, you're our people. Subscribe and join us. Share this with anyone who thinks they know history. Comment below, what historical execution should we cover next? We'll see you in the next one.